you guys, so this is going to be a video about the perspective vocabulary words and how to create the drawing that I need you to know the vocabulary words on your Pear Deck. So on the Google Classroom, there is a Pear Deck that's labeled as perspective vocab words. And I'm going to do a drawing on my paper that you are going to do on that Pear Deck. So first things first, I'll just label this so that we know what we're doing. So this is going to be perspective vocab. All right, on your Pear Deck, you will already have a label at the top of your tab. And then you're going to use the pen tool. You're going to have the ability to draw on that Pear Deck. So what I would suggest is that when you're drawing, you change the size of the pen, like the size of how big you're drawing, to be a little bit smaller. The size that they give you to start with is a little bit too large to be able to do things accurately. If you want to change the color, you totally can. It's up to you. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is a nice straight line going horizontally across the page, and we're going to label that as the horizon line. So on your Pear Deck, you don't have to write this out using your mouse. What you could do is there should be in the bottom left-hand corner a text tool. It'll look like a little T. So you can use that text tool to just type horizon line and put it on top of the nice straight line that we put in the middle. So the horizon line is the point at which the sky looks like it meets the ground. So this is like an imaginary line that doesn't, like there is not a point where the sky and the ground touch each other, but visually it's where you stop seeing the ground and you start to recognize the sky. Okay, so that's what the horizon line is. The next thing you're going to do on your Pear Deck is to put a nice big dot in the middle. You're going to point an arrow at it, and you're going to label that vanishing point. The vanishing point in our perspective drawings is the point where everything gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it vanishes. So all of our lines that we're going to create in our drawings are going to either go towards our vanishing point or be straight up and down or straight horizontally. So any diagonal lines that you have in your drawing will go directly towards the vanishing point. Things that are closer to us will look larger, and things as they get towards the vanishing point will get smaller and smaller and smaller. So that brings me to the next thing that we're going to draw, which is some guidelines. So we're going to do like some dashed lines going down, some dashed lines going up at diagonals, going towards the vanishing point. We can make an arrow that points at both of these and label it guidelines. So whenever we make a diagonal line that goes towards the vanishing point, we're going to call those guidelines. The reason why we made our guidelines dashed in our notes is because whenever I tell you that we're going to be creating a guideline, that means that we're going to be using it to guide where we should go, and then we're going to erase it when we don't need it anymore. So it's going to help us to guide how to draw things, and then once we're done using it, we're going to erase it. The next thing we're going to draw are some nice straight vertical lines inside of those guidelines. So we're going to make them be the height based off of where the guidelines go, and they're going to try to be nice and straight vertically. We can draw another arrow pointing at both of them and label those parallel lines. So the lines that we create when we're going up and down or side to side, these just happen to be vertical. If we made lines that were horizontal, we would want our horizontal lines to be parallel to each other as well, because if they're not going towards the vanishing point, they need to be straight vertical or straight horizontal. And so if we do lines that are parallel, then that means they're never ever going to touch each other, and they should be straight. Right? So if you're doing straight vertical lines or straight horizontal lines, they must always be parallel to one another. So what I mean by that is that you don't want to have two lines inside of a guideline that one is straight and one's crooked. Because if it doesn't go to the vanishing point, then it will get confusing. It's not going to be good for our perspective. It will mess with our perspective. Okay, and last but not least, we're going to do another diagonal line coming out from the vanishing point, and we're going to label this one receding line. So a receding line, think about like maybe an uncle or somebody that you know that has a receding hairline, how it's going back, it's going away from where it should be. So a receding line in a perspective drawing just means a line that starts close to us and looks like it recedes or goes away from us towards the vanishing point. So this is all you need to know. These are all the vocabulary words that we're going to use when we create our perspective drawings together. So as long as you have something that looks like this on your Pear Deck, then you're good to go for vocab. You know everything that you need to know in order to get started drawing our perspective.